Hey there. Today I want to talk to you about writing the book that you can't write, or the book you can't write right now, and what you do about that, and maybe it's okay to not be able to write a specific book at a specific time. So let's talk about what we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it and see what we get. Hi there. Welcome to the channel, or welcome back if you've been here before. I'm John Hartness. I'm the founder and publisher of Falstaff Books. I'm the creator of the Saga Genre Fiction Writing Conference. I'm a freelance editor, and I'm also the author of 43 novel-length works, including The Black Knight Chronicles, Bubba the Monster Hunter, and Quincy Harker Demon Hunter. And today I want to talk to you about what happens and what you do when you find yourself in the middle of a book that you thought you could write and you just can't. Because writers write. That's the whole idea, right? Pun intended. But sometimes you have an idea that just doesn't work. Or it works, but it's slow. Your progress is like molasses uphill in January. That metaphor works a lot better if you're in the northern hemisphere. Just saying. So what do you do when you have an idea that just won't work? The book that you think will be awesome, but every time you sit down to work on it, you get a chapter or two, or maybe just a sentence or two, and you end up just crashing to a halt. What do you do? What should you do? What can you do? This whole idea came about because I'm rereading the Newsflesh trilogy by Mira Grant. It's one of my favorite zombie series I've ever read. The other one is Jonathan Mayberry's Rotten Ruin series, and I also really love Jake Bible's Zeburbia series. And as I was reading through this book the other day, it was in book 2 that it really locked in for me. I thought, I could never write this book. And it's not that I'm incapable of writing zombies. I've written a zombie short story that might at some point become my version of a Rotten Ruin far future expansion of an ongoing series. It's called Sanctuary, and you can order it wherever ebooks are sold, including our Shopify site. Link in the description. You can also get it off our Shopify site in the new Quincy Harker Decade 1 collection, where I gather together the first 10 years of short stories I wrote in that universe. But I'm capable of writing zombies. I'm capable of writing stuff set in the future. No, the reason I couldn't write the Newsflesh books isn't because Mira Grant is a better writer than I am. She is, but that's beside the point. Also, in case you don't know, Mira Grant is the horror pseudonym for Seanan McGuire. It's a very open secret, but I didn't know it when I first read the books because I don't read bios in books all that often. But that has nothing to do with anything. No, I can't write these books, not just because Seanan's an amazing writer with greater skill than I currently possess. The reason I couldn't write Newsflesh is the science of it all. See, Seanan's basically a scientist masquerading as a fiction writer. She's got the kind of curiosity about the natural world that lands people as either president of the Steve Irwin fan club or on the Darwin Awards. But for way more interesting reasons than most people get there. She's studied the science in her books to a degree that very few writers I know not named Robert Sawyer have done. And frankly, I don't know another author anywhere willing to live with a tapeworm for a year for research. No shit. Look it up, y'all. She voluntarily got a tapeworm and named it as research for a book. So she's got this pile of scientific knowledge. She's got this lifelong fascination with things that can kill you and an incredible attention to detail. And those are the reasons that only Seanan could have written Newsflesh. And if I tried to write a medically, scientifically accurate zombie book, I'd just be ripping her off and probably not doing it very well. So if and when I do write a zombie book, the science will kind of boil down to either, and then there were zombies and nobody knows why, or it's effing magic. I love the IFM description of things. But there's other types of books that I've tried to write in my career with varying levels of success. My book, Amazing Grace, which is a Southern Gothic paranormal mystery, I wrote it shortly after my mother's death, and it was one of the ways that I've kept her alive in fiction. And that book is very different in tone than anything else I've ever written. It is a more gentler tone. It has a more southern voice than even my Bubba books. And it's very different stylistically from what I typically do. And people want a sequel to that book, which is really nice. It's awesome. I love that. Thank you. The problem is, about the time I started writing the sequel, my dad was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And that froze that book. You see, those books are so grounded in the world I grew up in the small southern community that helped make me who I am, that I can't write those books without really burying myself in the feelings and the people of that place. And while my dad was dying, I couldn't put myself in that headspace. And then he passed, and it's been a while, so no need for condolences at this point. But I still haven't managed to get back to where I can write the sequel. I keep promising people it's coming. I just have to find time and the right headspace to create characters based off the real people in that community, some of whom I miss terribly. So that has held me back from writing the sequel to Amazing Grace. Unforgiven, my high fantasy Seven Samurai, is another book that I wrote and completed, but it took me 4 years because it's very different from anything else I've done. Similarly, it's a high fantasy book as opposed to urban fantasy. It's third person as opposed to first person. It's an ensemble piece as opposed to one protagonist with a cast of supporting characters. Given that I needed to actually do world building for one of the first times in my career, that added a layer of complexity to the book. I also had to make sure I could use all of the flavors of creature and monster that I needed to use in the book, because some things are copyrighted and trademarked and some things aren't. Elves and orcs, you're okay. So that took a lot of time and effort that my books usually flow better. And right now I'm working on a book tentatively titled Unburied. Maybe I need to do fewer titles. Anyway, but it's taken forever. I've been working on that one for 4 or 5 years. It's a straight up serial killer thriller. And man, when you can't just wave your hand and use magic to fix a problem, thrillers take a lot more to write. I just had Jeffrey Deaver as guest of honor for the Saga Conference, and I asked him to send me one of his old outlines so I can look at it, so I can maybe examine it and learn a little bit. Because when all your stuff has to work within the laws of the real world, wow, it's a lot harder than when you can magic things away. So that one has taken a lot of time. Also because there's a structure to building a thriller that I haven't done before. So sometimes it takes a lot of extra effort to shift your genre like that. But what do you do when you find yourself in the middle of a book that won't move forward? Are you stuck and you need to go back and figure out how to unstuck yourself. Or maybe you hop genres and you're unprepared and you need to go study something. Or maybe you're just punching above your weight class as a writer and you need to do more stuff. So here's a few tips. First, when you get stuck, and you will, there's no if, when you get stuck in a book, because at some point it happens to everybody, the first thing I do is I check my outline. A lot of times I've veered off the roadmap I created for the book. So when I start writing off vibes of a scene and how I think the character feels, and I'm ignoring the outline, a lot of times what I need to do is just go back and fill and see where I diverged from the outline, and I either write the outline from where I left the plan, or maybe I just get back on track. Sometimes the outline's better than where I went sideways. Sometimes it's not, and where I was going, yeah, that's better than the outline. But then I have to take the time to rewrite my outline and give myself another roadmap. It's okay. Your outline isn't carved in stone. If it is, you're putting a lot more effort into your outlines than I am, because stone is hard and carving in it is very difficult and messy. So just use a computer like the rest of us. Jeez. But it's okay to change your outline. That's fine. That happened to me just a couple of weeks ago. When I pitched a chapter, I completely dumped it because I realized, oh yeah, my outline was better than this sudden inspiration. So for me, I have to have an outline. I'm writing too many books in a year, and I try to write too fast to do it while figuring things out as I go. So a lot of times when I get stuck, it's because two woods diverged in a writing wood, and I took the one that wasn't on my outline. So maybe if you're stuck, you go back and you see where you went off the path. 2, maybe you need to research your topic a little more. Sometimes you need to take a break from writing and go do your research. In most of my stuff, research consists of visiting a few websites to see how many bullets a gun will hold and how heavy it is, and if a normal person can fire it one-handed. For most normal human beings, if the gun is a Desert Eagle, the answer is no. Bubba is a frickin' giant. He can do it. I am mostly normal sized. I could not. So if I'm writing something more detailed than that, I may have to either dig deeper or reach out to somebody. I was working on this serial killer thriller, so I needed some real information on the FBI, information that I couldn't get from Criminal Minds reruns. But I don't have anybody at the FBI who can answer those questions for me. So I don't have any friends that are medical examiners, so I can't get coroner information easily. I do have a friend who's a doctor, so I can get med stuff. I have friends who are veterans. I have friends who are former police officers. I can get some information. Warning. Do not go so far down the rabbit hole that you lose the thread of the book entirely, and now you're just researching for weeks and weeks and weeks. You gotta keep putting words on the page. If you can't find an answer, then make yourself a big note in bold in the manuscript. Hey, figure this out. Then give yourself a few spaces after it and move on. And then, when you're doing something to avoid actively writing, go do that research instead. Hey, buddy. You want to come say hello to people? Gandalf wants to come say hi. Don't you, big buddy? Say hey to everybody. Hello, humans. They missed you. But just like having your cat wander up and derail a video, don't let your research derail progress on the book. And maybe, number 3, maybe if you're stuck, it's just not the time for that book. Maybe you're not ready to write it yet. That happens. I've got a book that I've been working on for, close to 15 years. I'm just not ready to write it yet. It's a literary fiction, modern day you can't go home again kind of book. And I haven't been in the right headspace to write it. It hasn't been the right time for me as a writer to do that. And I'll noodle on it for a chapter or two and then decide, nope, still not there. I'm not the right writer for that book yet. I might get there someday. I might not. I've got more ideas than I have years left in my life. And I could say that if I were 10. So maybe something in your real life is negatively impacting your ability to work on that book. I told you I haven't written the sequel to Amazing Grace because my dad got sick. And my dad died almost 7 years ago now. So it's been a hot minute before I've been ready to start really looking at that sequel. I find that when the world gets to be too much for me, like maybe all of a sudden you wake up one morning and we're at war in the Middle East again. Holy shit, how'd that happen? Well, then I start writing more Bubba. Bubba helps me get in a easier headspace. It's lighter. The topics are usually lighter. And also, I've been writing that character for 15 years. I can slip into Bubba like my favorite pair of bedroom slippers. There's time, is what I'm getting at. Unless you're George R.R. Martin. In which case, your ass is already late. But typically, even if a book is under contract, you can email your editor or your publisher and say, hey, this isn't going to happen in the time frame I thought it was going to happen, so sorry. And they'll give you an extension. People are reasonable. Just ask George. And maybe you just don't have the skill yet. You might not know it. Maybe you write a chapter and you get stuck. Have a friend who's ruthless and a writer look at it and tell you. Maybe you're just not writer enough for that book yet. It happens. I've had friends try to write books that are, for whatever reason, too complex for their skill level. And they shelve it. And then they come back a few years later, pick it back up, and they're good to go. Maybe you write something else, learn how to write something else, and then come back to this book. That's what's going on with this literary fiction book. Someday I'll get back to it, and I think it'll be awesome. But I'm not the right writer yet to do that. And also, maybe that book just didn't write. You don't have to finish every book you start. Most writers I know have half a dozen or more unfinished novels floating around. I do. At least half a dozen. When one of those is right for me, and the time is right for me to build that book, I'll go back to it. I still have a pile of Bubba and Harker and a Black Knight book to write, plus a sequel to Grace. So I got plenty to do. And this thing will still be there when I want to get back to it. But what do you do when you get stuck? What's your solution? Let me know in the comments. And look, if you stuck around this long, you should probably like and subscribe. You can even ring the little bell to get notified. And if you want your name on the videos scrolling in front of my bookcase like these nice people, you can join the channel. It's like $5 a month, and it really does help the channel grow, helps me buy a new microphone every now and then, and, maybe pay my editor a little better. So give us a like, give us a subscribe, Leave me a note in the comments telling me what you do when you get stuck. And if you want to throw me a bone, help me buy a new hoodie, you can be a member. All right? Till next time, bye.